Hi, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to Pink Lady Presents, a show like you have not seen before. I am with a dear friend of mine, Ms. Lori Donato, who all of you know from previous shows. What a wonderful lady she is, musical director, a musical coach, and now she's doing something for our veterans. She is performing at the Veterans Home in California for our wonderful military people there and doing a fabulous job, I heard.
And I'm loving
love
it.
you. Well,
And I'm
they
loving
love
being
you.
there.
They love you. And now, Lori, we're going to do something a little different, everyone. Lori's going to begin, and we're going to have like a little jam session today. Lori, take it away.
Okay. I love the East, I love the West, the North, the South, they're both the best. I'll only go there as a guest, 'cause I love being here with you. I love the sea, I love the shore, I love the rocks, and what is more, with you there, there'd never be a bore. Love being here with you, singing in the shower, laughing by the hour. Life is such a breezy game.
Oh, yeah.
Love all kinds of weather, long as we're together. I love to hear you say my name. I love good wine, fine cuisine, candlelight, you all know the scene. Folks, if you know what I mean, love being here with you. You know, I love the looks of Tom Cruise, Newman's eyes, and Ray Charles blues. What I've got for you is news. Love being here with you. Basie's band is swinging, I like Dawn singing. They got a way, you know. They know how to play it, they know how to say it. They wind it up and let it go. I love the lights, Las Vegas shows. I love to kiss my baby's toes. One more thing before I close. I love being here with you. Little Ray Charles. Let me tell you about a guy I know. He's my baby and he lives next door. Every morning when the sun comes up, he brings me coffee in my favorite cup. And I know, yeah, I know, hallelujah, I just love him so. And I'm in trouble and I got no friends. I know he'll be with me until the end. And everybody says, Lori, how do you know? I smile at them and say he told me so. And I know, yes, I know, hallelujah, I just love him so. When I call him on the telephone, I say, darling, I'm all alone. By the time I count from 1 to 4, I hear him knocking at my door. Well, in the evening when the sun goes down, there ain't nobody else around. He's kissing me, holding me tight. Says, Lori, everything's alright. And I know, yeah, I know, hallelujah, I just love him so. Hallelujah, I just love him so. Hallelujah, I just love, 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 love that man so.
Wow! That's called Jammin' at Pink Lady's Place with Lori Donato and friends. Oh, Lori, you're fabulous. You just are. God bless you.
Thank you.
I'm just going to introduce, I'm doing something a little different to everyone today. This is really their jamming session today. So I'm going to toss it to them. But first, I want to introduce two people who I start to cry when I get emotional. But these are two stars. They really are. Lori knows them very well. and I've been privileged to meet them a little while ago. Don Lucas, love you, babe, and beautiful Sandra Booker.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let them tell you a little about themselves, and then it's your show. Take it away.
Hi, everybody. I'm Don Lucas from Boston, Massachusetts, originally. And I came to California with the Glenn Miller Orchestra way back. This is years and years ago, way back in the 80s. I landed here. I stayed here. And then I did some film and television, General Hospital, Picket Fences, a few TV shows, a lot of theater. There was a lot of theater in Los Angeles at one time that you could be paid for, and now it's all free. So, I don't do that much anymore, but recorded a CD called Nice and Easy, and I was the musical director of the Pied Pipers vocal group and singer for 10 years with the Jimmy Dorsey Orchestra. And now I'm getting ready to go on tour with Battle of the Big Bands, and that is going to be all around Northern California, Canada, Arizona. We open on June 1st in Lodi, California at the Hutchins Street Theater. We're going to be in Folsom at the Harris Center. We're going to be in Rancho Palos Verdes at the Norris. So we'll be all around, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you there Monday nights at Viva Cantina in Burbank, right next to the Equestrian Center. This ain't your daddy's big band, two fabulous singers, and me. And an incredible band, 17-piece big band, come out, no cover, no minimum, free parking. Margaritas as big as your head.
And they are.
Well, I did my turn. How about you? What do you got to say for yourself, my dear?
It's wonderful being here with both of you. So first of all, let me say that my name is Sandra Booker. I'm originally from the great city of New Orleans. Jazz is my life. I love it, and I'm just so thrilled to be here in Los Angeles. I'm producing a new project myself entitled Reunion, which features a wonderful pianist named Tamir Hilleman that I've had the privilege of working with. And I'm going to be putting together some musical workshops for an organization called the Environmental People Foundation. We are a 501c3 charity, and we raise resources to provide arts and music education for children here in Southern California. And I've been privileged to go around the different parts of the country and also different parts of Europe. I just got back from Paris, which was fantastic on behalf of the EOPF. And so I want to invite people to visit us at www.eopf.org for more information. And you can always visit me at www.sandrabooker.com for information on upcoming performances.
Wow.
Yes.
That was
well.
fantastic. I love it. So we're going to sing, right?
Yes.
Should I go first?
Yes,
course.
why
All
not?
right. This is going to be the title song for my CD, Don Lucas, Nice and Easy. So I named it Nice and Easy because the title song is Nice and Easy. Cue orchestra. Nice. Give me a snap. That trio's good. I don't have to pay them, thank God. Let's take it nice and easy. It's gonna be so easy for us to fall in love. Hey, Lori, what's your hurry? Relax and don't you worry. We're gonna fall in love, in love. We're on the road to romance, and that's safe to say. But let's make all the stops along the way. Ooh, the problem now, of course, is to simply hold your horses. To rush would be a crime. Oh, nice and easy does it every time. Comes that fabulous trio that I'm not paying for. Right dance. Not really. Easy. Don't show those feet. Ooh, that's nice. Listen to that bass. We're gonna fall in love, in love. We're on
safe to say, but let's make all the stops along the way. The problem now, of course, is to simply hold your horses. To rush would be a crime, 'cause nice and easy does it. Nice and easy does it. Nice and easy does it every time. Hey guys, let's go round one more time. Nice and easy does it. Free and breezy does it. Nice and easy. Throw me a bassy line. Nice.
Great, love that.
Yes, thank you so
Great tune.
Well, I did mine, Sandra. I bet you've got one, right?
Oh, I've got one.
You've got one, huh? I love it. What do you got for us?
Ooh, a little tweet, 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 tweet. We'll see how this goes.
Nice.
Two, a 1, 2. Shabba-dabba tweet, tweet, tweet-doo-dah. Shabba-dabba tweet, doo-dah. Lullaby of birdland, that's what I always hear. When you sigh, never in my wordland could there be words to reveal. In a phrase how I feel. Have you ever heard two turtle doves, bill and coo, when they love? That's the kind of magic music we make with our lips when we kiss. And there's a weepy old willow, he really knows how to cry. That's how I cry on my pillow. If you should tell me farewell and goodbye, lullaby of birdland, whisper low, kiss me sweet and we'll go flying high in birdland, high in the sky up above, all because we're in love. Shadooga beebe doo dee-bo, shabadooga beebe dooga dooble bo bo weeble ooh-ah, shadadee-bo weed be-bo, shabdoo-da-dee-dee-doo-dee-be-doo-da. Lullaby of birdland, that's what I always hear when you sigh. Never in my birdland could there be birds to reveal. We're in love. Shabba-dooba-dee-dee-dee-doo-da. Shabba-dooba-dee-doo-da.
Yeah. I'm going to applaud that. I like it. Man, that was great.
Good. Okay. And back to you.
Oh, back to me. Well, this song actually is one you will all be familiar with, but I'm going to use the lyrics that I used in a show once called Hello Mutta, Hello Fada. The lyricist is Alan Sherman. He had the very first comedy album that went gold in 1962. Very first one. So this came from that show, and I'm going to dedicate it to the last 25 pounds I've been losing for the last 20 years. Somewhere overweight people just like me must have some place where they don't count every calorie. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up tall, there's a land where they never heard of cholesterol. A place where you eat what you want and still stay slim and trim and gaunt. You'll find me where every single thing I taste won't wind up showing on my waist, or worse, behind me. Somewhere
It's divine. If your waistlines aren't bulging, why then, oh, why does mine? If bluebirds ate as much as I, you'd see some big fat bluebirds in the sky.
It's great.
Oh, I bet you got another one, right?
This is the music of the great Johnny Mandel from one of my favorite movies. The name of the song is The Shadow of Your Smile. The shadow of your smile when you are gone will color all my dreams and light the dawn. Look into my eyes, my love, and see all the lovely things you are to me. A wistful little star was far too high. A teardrop kissed your lips, and so did I. Now when I remember spring and all the joy that love can bring, I will be remembering the shadow of your smile. Now when I remember spring, all the joy that love can bring, I will be remembering the shadow of your smile.
All I can say to my audience out there first, Chaplain Dove and I are proud every week to bring you lives that are well lived. People that are giving a feeling of love, a feeling of compassion and kindness to the world to make it a better place, to smile and to love. And today's 3 stars, I think we've proved that. And you know what? I'm going to be really selfish. I want to hear the 3 of you together in a melody for our audience again. So go ahead.
What do we all
I don't know,
What do we all
but whatever.
How about all of me?
I know
Okay.
All of you.
Got it.
Yeah, but what key?
Well, you sing it
B flat.
and Sandra sings it in C, and Lori does C. I thought you were G, but
I'll do G.
Okay, all right, and I'm C.
Good.
So
And
shall
you're
we?
lucky I don't sing at all.
So you want to start?
Sure. All of me, why not take all of me? Can't you see I'm no good without you? take these lips. You can't refuse them. Take these arms, I'll never use them. Your bye-bye left me with eyes that cry. Can't go on, Sandra dear, without you. You took the part that once was my heart. So why not take all of me? Over to you.
All of me. Why not take all of me? Can't you see I have no good without you? Take my lips, I'll never use them.
What a shame.
And you can take my arms, I long to lose them. Your goodbyes left me with eyes that cry. How can I go on dear without you? You took the part that once was my heart. So why not take all of me?
Why don't we do it together? All of me.
All of me.
Why not take all of me? Can't you see?
I'm
Just
mistaken.
we're no good without you. Take my arms.
Oh no.
I'm never gonna use them.
Just your hands.
Take these lips. I wanna lose them. Everybody, your goodbye left me with eyes that cry. Why I can't live without
Can't go on
you.
without you.
You took the part that once was my heart. Why not take?
Take all of
Why not take? Why not take all of
Why not
me?
take all of me? So nobody- Oh, you don't.
Woo! Yeah! Woo! And my dear friends, all of me is so happy today to have beautiful Sandra Booker, my dear friend Don Lucas, and my lovely, lovely friend Lori Donato with the Friends of Pink Lady Presents with Lori Donato. God bless you. We will see you in a few moments.
I'm gonna
Oh my God.
Our power, we have a dream. What do you think of the show?
I thought it was marvelous.
Oh my gosh, it was so inspirational and it was so entertaining.
I was so impressed with all the talent.
But what comes to mind immediately, I think of Tony Bennett, Lena Horne, Angela Lansbury, all of these people who are seniors, and hey, the sky's the limit.
It was a wonderful show, and I enjoyed it immensely. We enjoyed it, my wife and I, immensely.
Hi, everybody. We are back. And you know what? We have such a good time with our guests that we forget sometimes that you're watching, and I'm glad you are. Today, I have a gentleman with us who is really quite exceptional because he's traveled all over the world to our cemeteries, finding stories about our well-respected and loved military people. So Ron McDonald has written a book, and it's called Arlington Anthology, Field of Honor. Now, many of us, Ron, including me, I know that Dove knows, but I don't, and I know many of our people out there do not know the story of Arlington Cemetery. Could you enlighten us?
It's actually a very fascinating story, and before anybody knew anything about Arlington and became Arlington, originally the property, the 200 acres, was owned by an old sea captain.
Oh.
And he wanted to go back to sea. And so what he ended up doing is he ended up selling those 200 acres for 2 barrels of pork. So I just tell everybody, I guess he must have loved pork.
Oh my Right.
But originally, the property then became owned by John Parks Custis. Now, John Parks Custis was the aide de camp to Washington, and very close relationship to George Washington in the fact that George Washington ended up marrying Martha, and Martha was the grandmother to his children, to John Custis's children. Well, John Custis had camp fever in Yorktown and passed away. But Washington had ended up adopting the children because he had married Martha Washington.
Wow. Okay.
The younger one was the boy, and there was a younger girl. And he raised them at Mount Vernon and New York City when Washington became president.
Okay.
Well, when Washington passed away, the property was willed back over to the boy, John Parks Custis Jr. And he's the one who actually built the home that you see there in Arlington today.
Oh, really? Okay.
And what ended up happening is he had a daughter, and her name was Mary Custis, and she married Robert E. Lee, whose father was Light Horse Harry during the Revolutionary War.
Oh, my goodness.
So when the war broke out, they had to leave the home and go to Richmond. Now, General Megas was the quartermaster at the time, and they had run out of room at the old soldier cemetery. And so Megas came to Lincoln, and he said, I need to bury these men. He had 5 men before Lincoln. I need to bury them here. And Lincoln was very, very hesitant about it because he wanted Lee to be able to come back to his home after the war.
Right.
But he consented to it. Now, you see, they were very close friends, Lee and Megas. In fact, in West Point, they were very good friends. But Megas felt that Lee was a traitor and, in fact, lost his son during the Civil War and felt very embittered by it. And so he did bury the first 5 there. But he also buried the first 1,500 actually Union soldiers unnamed that had died at the Rappahannock, the Wilderness, and at Bull Run.
Oh, my goodness.
But he buried them in the Rose Garden.
Oh, wow.
So Lee could never come back home.
Now, this is a national cemetery.
Yes, ma'am.
And there's what, how many in the...
There's 400,000 buried there at this moment. 25 to 30 are buried every day. A total of 7,000 every year.
Oh, my goodness.
By 2050, they say it will probably be closed by then. It'll be filled.
Really?
Yeah.
But
We just
you also-
recently extended it.
Yeah, you also have what they call Freedom Village. What is that?
Well, during 1864, the Union soldiers were moving south, and the house had been taken over by the federal government at that point, and they built what they called Freedman's Village, and the slaves that escaped out of Maryland and Virginia was brought up there, and they had their own cabins, they raised their own gardens, and they taught them trades to assimilate into society. Unfortunately, what happened is over the years, after the war too, the yellow fever and scarlet fever hit Washington, D.C., and there's 3,800 of them buried there on the property, just listed as citizen because nobody knew who they were.
Oh, my goodness.
It's an amazing place, and the history is amazing of it. After the Civil War, which is interesting, is that the Custis family took the federal government to court, and they won. And in
What
that,
did they take them to court for?
because they took the property illegally, in a sense, during the Civil War.
Okay.
And they won. And so they had to give the property back. And in doing so, they turned around and sold the property to the federal government for $150,000, which is probably equivalent to probably, what, a couple million now.
Yeah.
So that's how it became Arlington. Originally, it was going to be called Mount Washington by John Parks Custis Jr., but he called it Arlington after the Custis family home that was in England.
Right. Well, you have stories about, I think there was, what, 100 or 200?
No, there's about
300 something?
117 in this one. I'm working on the second book.
All fascinating stories that I've read. And let's hear about some of them.
Well, I want
Usually-
to just jump in for
yeah.
a second.
Sure.
I met Ron at the American Legion Hollywood Post 43.
Yeah.
He had come to speak. I was
Right.
there for doing something, I don't recall what. And so we talked, and that's come a long circle. We're now back, and we're here on the show.
Right.
You mentioned about the cemetery and how many burials there were, how many interments in Arlington.
Yeah.
Just for the people who are West Coasters, the Los Angeles National Cemetery has been closed for about 20 years because we have 88,800
That's
graves,
it, right.
and they're full.
Wow.
We are in construction right now for 90,000 niches for a columbarium for cremated remains. We're opening this summer. which will more than double capacity.
Oh, that's great.
And in Riverside,
Oh,
which you
they've-
mentioned,
So much room.
now that they've acquired the golf course, when they are finished prepping that cemetery, which is a national cemetery, it will be the largest in the world.
Wow.
It will accommodate, I believe, 2.5 million
Oh,
American
wow.
heroes.
Wow.
And they are right now, I just did a funeral there in January, they're doing somewhere between 28 and 40 funerals a day.
It's an amazing
Yay.
place. I've
Yay.
been there.
Amazing. I mean, the people come in, they line up, the color guards and honor guards go
Yes.
from place to place, 27
Unreal.
Marines and Air Corps, and it's amazing.
And now,
Yeah,
tell us some stories.
please.
Actually, the first one in the book is a woman.
Ah, yay. Okay.
Her name was Vinnie Rem Hoxie, and she's a sculptress, a prodigy.
Oh,
And at 18 years old, she was picked by Lincoln to do his bust. She spent a half an hour every day for 5 months with that man. She observed him, she watched him, she listened to his jokes, sketched it, and eventually did the bust for him. And then when he was assassinated, she was the first one commissioned by the United States government to do a full-length statue.
oh wow.
She was given his coat that he wore that night to the theater, bloodstained and all. She went to Italy to the Carrara marble pits where Michelangelo picked out the marble for the Pietà and David. She sculpted in Italy, brought it back, and today it stands in the Capitol Rotunda for every American citizen, congressman, and senator to see.
Wow. What a,
And she's
lovely.
there
And she's there.
because she married a major.
Okay.
Now, above her gravesite is a statue of Sappho, which she herself sculpted.
Oh my goodness. I'm ready for more.
That's only the first story.
That's the only one.
Right.
I'll tell you a story of a chaplain, since you are one. His name was Robert Hopkins. This man was amazing. He was a POW prisoner. He was taken captured during the Battle of the Bulge, along with about 2,500 other
What
soldiers.
war was that now?
World War II.
World
War
II.
II.
Okay.
But it was taken capture with about 2,500 other soldiers at that point, and they were taken to the Stalags. The SS commanded the Stalags and ran them brutally. In fact, within the first 2 weeks, 700 of them were dead. He presided over the funerals. And what's amazing about this story is simply this, is the British and the American soldiers that he was housed with stole, actually the British stole it, they stole 2 sugar sack bags, and they sewed them together, and they made an American flag.
Oh.
And the red and the blue that was in that flag came from the blood of the soldiers. He presided over 200 funerals in the time that he was there at that Stalag, and the different Stalags that he was at. Once the Nazis had found out about the flag, they obviously wanted to confiscate it. And that week after the funeral, they couldn't find the flag. They always hid the flag. Well, they took 2 British soldiers and they slowly but surely shot them from the feet on up until they died. And they would not give up the flag. They always hid the flag. And eventually he escaped, wrapping that flag around his own body, and came back home. He put that flag in the cabinet in his kitchen. And one day his son asked him, he says, "Father, I don't understand why you were a chaplain. Why did you carry a gun?" And he simply said these words, "Every good shepherd has to defend his flock."
Oh, wow.
That flag, in the last of his death, he was buried and at Arlington there, and it covered over his own coffin.
Oh, my Lord. Wow.
I know. I mean, stories are amazing.
They are.
And they go on and on. I mean, it took me about 8 years to write the book. And it's all, the list of book is historical fiction because I told the stories as if they were alive to tell their own in first person.
How did you, I mean,
But it
there
comes
were so
from
many
archives.
right, but there were so many people that you could have chose. How did you make your decision?
Well, I first went to the Arlington site and I started, finding they have brief descriptions about
Right.
some, and I go, that's interesting. I started looking it up, and I went to another one, and I went to another one, and basically that's kind of picked and choose what I liked, and I thought were very interesting stories.
Right.
And I did the research by going through military archives, eyewitness accounts, diaries, Medal of Honor sites, and they give a description of what happened. Eyewitness accounts will give you a description of what it was like to be living in the trenches during World War I, which a lot of people have no idea.
You're right.
And so that's kind of how I came about the research. And I told the book in first person because of an experience I had a long time ago. I read a book called Spoon River Anthology,
Oh, yes.
which was written by Edgar Masters at the
Right.
turn of the century. And it takes place in a town called Spoon River in the cemetery. And it's kind of like a Peyton place.
Yes,
But
right.
it's told in first person. And I kind of said, why don't I do that?
Same, right.
And so that they can, it becomes more personable.
Correct. And like you're there.
Yeah.
Literally.
How many Medal of Honor recipients are buried there?
Wow. I think I'm not sure on this number, but I think there's like 700 and something of them there. I'm not sure that
We
number.
had, the reason I asked the question is about 2 weeks ago, we had the privilege of being at a Medal of Honor ceremony where we had over 1,400 people. And sitting behind us, the entire row with the family of Carter, Edwin Carter, who was buried in L.A., and then they moved the remains to Arlington.
Arlington.
And all of his kids and grandkids and great-grandkids
there
were
was
there.
hundreds.
Sitting in front of us, there were the Montford Point Marines.
Oh, wow.
And they were all
Adorable.
93
Yeah.
to 99 years old.
Wow.
And actually, they're coming to the National Cemetery for a special program, and we'll be honoring them.
And they'll be on
So-
our show in a couple
That
of
generation was an incredible
Yes.
generation, and they're slowly but surely disappearing.
Yes.
You know, they did so much for this country. And one of the reasons why I wrote the book is I want people to know what people because it covers from the Revolutionary War to today, what they've done, the sacrifices they've made for the country and for people, and for, their stories of courage and perseverance and sacrifice. Things that we all commonly deal with every day of our lives.
Right.
We're given a birth date, and at the end of our lives, we're given a death date. But it's the dash in between that represents who we are and who we've touched and how we've changed the world for the better, or maybe even for the worse.
You
Yes,
don't know.
well-
You don't know.
But
Hopefully for the
Yeah, I know you've had some stars, so to speak, people that we know. When I say stars, that people are used to their names, like Audie Murphy is there. And another one that I mentioned to you, which I was shocked, was Dashiell Hammett, the mystery writer.
Yeah,
I mean, there
The
were
Big
people,
Sleep.
yeah, and I was like, really? He was a veteran? I mean, sometimes you don't realize who was in a war and who wasn't.
yeah.
And tell me something else. I'm ready.
You ready for another story?
I am.
Sure.
This guy, his name is Rocky Versage, and this takes place during Vietnam. He became a POW and was kept in a cage 3 feet by 4 feet by 5 feet for 3 years. No mosquito net, and oftentimes the mosquitoes were so thick that his feet would look like black socks. He had jaundice, and they would parade him around to the camps, trying to show how good they were and demoralizing him. But he had a spirit about him. He had an unbreakable spirit which they couldn't break. He loved his God and he loved his country, and he wasn't afraid to tell anybody about it. And the other men looked up to him because he was the one who gave them inspiration and courage to fight on. And the last time they heard from him, they were parading him out into the jungle, and he was singing at the top of his lungs, "God Bless America." And he is him and another gentleman are the only two POWs who have received the Medal of Honor at POWs.
Really? Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
wow. And what was his name?
Herbert Rocky Visage.
Visage.
And we know one of the others, Tibor Rubin, who received the Medal of Honor 50 years after earning it. Interesting story. We have his son who's going to be coming on our show.
Oh, wow.
And Tibor, we've now had the VA Medical Center in Long Beach renamed after him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
And
great.
there are only 3 people who have had medical centers named after them. Audie Murphy is one of them,
Yeah.
and Alvin York is the second, and Tibor Rubin. But he was a Holocaust survivor.
Wow.
And he always said, if I ever get to the United States, I'm going to become a G.I. Joe. And he came to the United States in 1950, immediately joined the Army, was sent to Korea, fought brilliantly and valiantly, and was eventually captured. He was left with a machine gun and took out the enemy, but then he ran out of bullets and they got him, and they put him in the POW. It's recorded that
They
he
were brutal,
broke
too.
out of and back in 42
40
times,
times.
saving
No.
American lives,
Wow.
stealing medicine and food. When he left Korea, came to the United States, settled in Southern California. We got a chance to meet him. He died in 2015. We met him in 2012. The rolling Vietnam Wall travels all over the country.
Yeah.
When it comes to Southern California, as chaplain, I do the ceremony,
that's
and
great.
he was one of my guest speakers. So we had Tibor Rubin, POW recipient, and we had Colonel Bob Friend of the Tuskegee Airmen. The long and the short of the story is not only is there a VA medical center named after him, but the Jewish War Veteran Post, we had the name changed to the Tibor Rubin JWV
Oh, that's
Post
great.
in his honor and memory.
That's great.
So another connection that we keep it alive so that people, every time they hear the name, we don't just say it's Tibor Rubin, we say a Medal of Honor recipient and then tell the story so the story is kept alive.
I have a story of a gentleman, his name is Louis Gabaldon, and you had mentioned Sergeant York.
Yes.
Gabaldon was actually raised here in L.A. And came from a very rough neighborhood in those days, and was actually adopted in a way by a Japanese family. And he learned fluent Japanese. And when the war broke out, that Japanese family was taken off to the internment camp. And he eventually joined the Marine Corps. And his first deployment was on Saipan. Now, the story is amazing. The first night he was on Saipan, he snuck out and he went up to the caves. And he spoke Japanese, fluent Japanese, to the Japanese men in those caves. And he convinced them. And 5 of them came out as POWs, as his prisoners. And he brought them back. Well, his commanding officer was mad as hell. He says, "You do that again, and I'm going to court-martial you."
Oh, my.
Well, the next night he goes out and he brings back 10. What makes this man unusual is this. In the time that he was on Saipan, he brought back 1,500 POW prisoners of war of Japanese. Now, that's amazing in itself.
Right.
But stop and think.
How many lives?
Of Americans did he save?
That's
He not only
right.
saved those 1,500 Japanese lives, but think about the American lives that would have had to dig them out of
That's
those
right.
caves.
That's right.
And if you stop and think about it, that's more people he saved than Sergeant York.
Oh, wow, you're right. You're
You know?
right. You were going to tell us about a woman, another woman that.
There's actually a lot of nurses in the book. I have several nurses in the book. That's one from the Civil War, Juliet Hopkins, and she was a Civil War nurse on the Confederate side.
Oh.
She's buried there.
Okay.
And in fact, there's a lot of Confederate soldiers that are actually buried on the property. They were captured and they were taken in the hospitals, and they passed away in the hospitals. And being a military cemetery, that's where they buried them.
What amazes me is when I was reading, the nurses just didn't take care of, especially in the Civil War, just didn't take care of whatever side they were on. They took care of both sides. I mean, they were
Especially
their duty.
especially in the Confederate and in the Civil War, you know, they didn't see them as blue or gray. They saw
Right.
them as men and suffering, and they would go on the battlefields. In fact, she used to go on the battlefields and take care of the men there on the battlefields after the battle. She was wounded in the thigh, and the boy that she was tending eventually died, and she woke up and she thought her leg was going to be gone because in those days they just amputated.
They did.
But she survived it, and what made her unusual is she was considered the Florence Nightingale of the South.
I love that.
And she was placed on the $20 bill in, I believe, Alabama.
Oh my goodness! There was one story that, and we're going to have to end soon, about the Iraq Afghanistan.
Oh, okay.
That I read,
Yeah.
and I just cried,
Yeah, there was a gentleman named Thomas Gibbons, and he was a Iraq and Afghanistan soldier. And, you know, a lot of times a son will go to the father, and he'll talk to his dad before he goes off to war. And it happens quite often. They have that one-to-one man conversation. Well, he went to his father, and once he knew he was going to be deployed, and he said, you know, Dad, I'm leaving for Afghanistan, or I'm leaving for Iraq. And he goes, says, his dad says, well, I'll tell you what. And he pulls out of his wallet a dollar bill, and he ripped the dollar bill in half. And he gave half to his son, and he held on to the other half. And he said to his son, whenever you get back, we'll put that dollar bill back together and make it whole. Well, sure enough, he did come back, and they made it whole, in a sense that he laminated both copies of it, and his father kept them. Well, he tried to fit in for a year, and he had a very, very hard time fitting in. He just no job seemed to really fit for him. So he redeployed. He re-upped. So he went back to his father before he deployed out, and he was going to go to Afghanistan. He says, Dad, listen, I'm going out again. I'd like to get that other half of that dollar bill. And his father says, well, son, I really don't want to give it to you, but I will do it for you. And he handed him the laminated copy of it. And the son put it in his wall, and he kept it with him. And he went off. But this time he didn't come back. What they did bring back was his son in a coffin, and his remains of the things that he had. And one of the things that he had was obviously that $50 bill. Well, he went to, before they buried his son, he went and asked to see his son one last time. And they gave him permission. And he saw his son there in the coffin. And he took that other half of that dollar bill of his son's, and he put it in his coat pocket. And he said to his son, when we see you again, we'll make that dollar bill whole.
I just, thank you so much.
It's okay.
To everyone out there, Arlington Anthology, Field of Honor, to so many brave men and women throughout the centuries are out there.
Would you tell our viewing audience where they can get that book?
Please.
Yeah, right now Amazon has it listed as out of stock, but you can actually pick it up. You can order it at any Barnes & Noble. But I tell everybody to go to Outskirts Press /Arlington Anthology. OutskirtsPress.com/Arlington Anthology, and you can pick it up there. I also donate a portion of the proceeds to the veterans too.
Thank you so much.
No
Ron
Thank you for
McDonald,
coming and sharing
thank you,
with us.
really. It's just, you must get it and read it and be proud of who is there. And thank you so much, Ron.
It's an honor
You're
to
just a
speak to you.
delightful gentleman, and you're doing a wonderful job. And we'll look forward to your next book. And for now, God bless everyone. Thank you. We'll see you next time.
I'm gonna live until I die. The blues I lay low, I'll make them stay low. They'll never trail over my head.